Welcome back to another episode of TVGP's Critical Misses. I'm your host, Boston. Joining me as always is Moonpeer.
Howdy. If you hear what sounds like a siren going off in my background, that's just my cat.
Okay, all right. Well, good heads up. Welcome to Season 12. If you are a patron at the $5 tier or higher, patreon.com/E1M1.
The ones and numbers.
You got a sneak peek, kind of an hour long discussion of how we kind of got from time loop season to what you've probably already figured out is the DCEU. And part of you can go listen to that. If you're not a patron, go sign up. We've been doing the production meeting for 2 seasons. You can go check it out for season 12. Obviously not going to recap that. Go check that out over there. But we did want to start. We have a bunch of large seasons in the backlog.
Big boys. A whole bunch of big boys.
Yeah, like 30 episodes here, 20-something episodes here. So we figured, what's better to sort of take our first bite out of something larger than the DCEU? It's 10 films. We can do half of it. We're going to do the first 5. To answer everybody's probable burning question, looking at the Wikipedia page, doing the math, we're going to watch the original cut of Justice League during part 1. So read between the lines there how you will, but we're gonna do it in chronological order, and that dictates the original Justice League we'll watch. But we are going to start here with Man of Steel, 2013's Man of Steel. I want to get something out of the way here first. Welcome to Boston's Thirst Corner. I have an unrepentant crush on Henry Cavill.
I was going to say, can we address the amazingly hot elephant in the room?
One of the hottest men on the planet in any form or fashion. Most of me watching these movies will just be like sighing dreamily, being like, Henry Cavill. Want to get that out of the way.
On the floor in the corner.
100%. So get that out of the way. Thirst Corner's over. Won't talk about it anymore.
You will, because we still got to watch the movie first.
I know.
Dude,
check the first minute of the second section.
I haven't seen The Witcher, so I don't know what he looks like in that.
Oh man.
But there is some smoking hot Henry Cavill in this movie, let me tell you.
2 thumbs up.
Wait until you see how he shaves, dude. It's
great. Let's lead that into what I know about this movie. That's the only person that I know is in this movie. I feel like you can probably assume there will be someone playing Lois Lane in a Superman movie. Especially like a big budget one like this.
Go
ahead.
I just said okay. I'm parroting along for now, and then we'll see where I interrupt.
I feel like I sort of assume they're gonna deal with some origin story thing here. Maybe that's just like Batman reboot PTSD here, but I feel like we got to see Krypton blow up at some point.
So you're not wrong.
Okay.
We'll get this out the way right off the bat then, since you pretty much hit the nail on the head straight away.
Okay.
This is an origin story for Superman. Another origin story for Superman.
You could do a lot worse than the goodest superhero being like, maybe I do want to do good.
Yeah. So there is a lot in this movie. You could get away with saying this is a direct follow-on from Smallville. Like, you could kind of get away with that a little bit.
There's some shared DNA there.
A little bit, but... So the only thing you know is Henry Cavill, correct?
Yeah, I don't know anybody else who's in this movie.
Do you know the writers? Do you know the director?
Nope. I feel like the thing that I've heard the most of this movie is, number one, they hired a handsome British guy, and he does pretty okay. And then number 2, nobody liked it. So, but like it's a comic book movie that isn't Marvel in 2013. No one was gonna like it. Like you had to be realistic about it.
So, in my personal opinion, the biggest downfall to this movie, and I know he gets flack, and he also has fanboys who will attack me for saying this. My biggest problem with this is the director.
Okay.
Because this is the start of the Zack Snyder DC universe.
Okay. For better or for worse.
If you like Zack Snyder stuff, this might be right in your wheelhouse. However, if you've spent 10 years watching Zack Snyder dark and gritty stuff and kind of had a little bit enough of that, this might be a little bit dark and gritty for you.
Gotcha.
Like, you're not wrong. For better or worse, this is a Zack Snyder movie. And he's done some absolutely fantastic stuff.
I'm looking up his Wikipedia page here because I never remember what he has directed, largely because anytime anyone's talking about him recently, it's Zack Snyder's Justice League and this like pissing match that happened over that. So it's like Dawn of the Dead, 300, Watchmen, which is largely a good movie, Sucker Punch, which sure is a thing, and then like a bunch of DCEU stuff.
Yeah. So if you're into that kind of stuff, like that darker,
stylish sort of thing,
yes, then this might be right in your wheelhouse. Now, I will say that, yes, a lot of people don't like this movie. And it's ironic considering where those same fans probably landed at, like, in 5 movies' time. They're probably the same people who were saying, like,
hashtag restore the Snyder Cut.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
I think this suffers because of Christopher Nolan as well, who is partially responsible for helping write this, along with David S. Goyer and a whole bunch of other people.
Okay.
Because Nolan did the Batman trilogy.
Right.
And I think the Batman trilogy is fantastic. Like, there's just something incredible about that Batman trilogy of movies. However, how long ago did they come out? Like,
longer ago than you think.
Yes. And in that time, you've had Marvel unleash their whole thing on the universe with the whippy Iron Man kind of writing and that kind of hero with the comedy, and not everything has to be dark and gritty and grim.
Batman Begins came out in 2005. Like, sandwiched between 2 incredible movies, Insomnia, which I feel like nobody has seen, and The Prestige, which is way better than people give it credit for.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, so you're doing this dark and gritty universe, potentially, 6 years too late at this point?
Yeah, like by the point that people are kind of over it. It's kind of a joke at this point.
Yeah, I think that's part of the problem. There are 1 or 2 or 6 things in this movie that take place that I'm not a huge fan of.
Okay.
There's some things in here I absolutely adore. Some things that are just... It's been a long time since I've seen this movie, but I know there is moments in this movie that will give me goosebumps every single time.
Yeah. Well, and it's... I feel like doing a Superman thing, whether it's comics or movies or a TV show or whatever, like, that's got to be some of the hardest stuff. Because how do you write an interesting character from, like, the most morally good superhero? I'm sure somebody could actually me about, well, this person, I don't really care. The perception of Superman is like, this is the best, the most morally good superhero.
Yeah, he's the Boy Scout. Like, that's
Yeah.
one of his nicknames for a reason.
Right.
And more importantly than that is, how do you tell a Superman story that is original and interesting?
Right.
Because, spoiler alert, they've kind of all been told.
Right.
Like, I would argue the most interesting Superman stories is Red Son,
Mm-hmm.
and Injustice. Like, they're the
Yep.
two most interesting Superman stories.
Injustice, for like obviously opposite reasons, is sort of like,
Yeah,
okay, cool. This
because
is
that's
taken to an extreme. What does Superman look like? It's like, okay, cool.
And honestly, Red Son kind of harkens on those same kind of things too.
Sure. Sure.
Like, he does things one way and then he snaps and does things a completely different way, and it
Right.
makes perfect kind of sense.
Right.
But it's hard to tell a new original story, and I think the biggest misstep DC ever did was they went in making this movie knowing they are planning to make a movie-based universe. Because
Right.
that is the thing that Marvel got right, is they didn't know they were going to have this. They didn't expect any of this.
It's like
They made Iron Man on a wing and a prayer.
Yeah, it's like the hope for success, plan for failure sort of thing, where it's like, you guys like this? Oh, you liked it. All right, well, I've got this plan. And I don't think it's inherently bad for DC to come in, especially in 2013, and say like, look, we're also a giant comic house. Like, look at this. However many 100-something years. I'm obviously not a comic guy. So I apologize if anybody's ripping their hair out at this point. But like, look at all our storied history for like some of the biggest comic books in history. You know, Batman, we obviously sort of figured out, and then we can't help but reboot seemingly every movie. But like, let's try and tie all this stuff together, because you look at how Marvel did the Avengers, and you say, oh, we got the Justice League. Like, that's got some real cool stuff in it. Like, we could do this thing too. I have never really blamed them for trying it, at the very least.
No, I think that problem is they probably rushed it out a little bit. It didn't feel natural the way the Marvel Cinematic Universe did.
Sure.
Like, don't get me wrong, now the Marvel Cinematic Universe feels very forced, where it's like, yeah, of course, here was 16 references to other things in the Marvel Universe that we're going to get shows of soon. Like, now it feels forced. But at the time, it was like, wait, Robert Downey Jr. showed up at the end of The Incredible Hulk. Like, just randomly.
Right. What's he doing there?
That is great.
Yeah.
I like this movie.
Yeah.
I'm curious how it holds up. So
yeah, it's been a long 9 years since this movie came out, especially for comic book movies. So,
it really has.
Yeah.
And so we know, I've already spoiled it, Zack Snyder's the director.
Right.
Do you know who does the music?
I feel like this is a Hans Zimmer joint.
Got it in one.
Okay. I sort of dig Hans Zimmer. So I feel like I'll probably like the music in this. I feel like
he's done some insanely good music.
Yeah, he's done some real good stuff. I especially like his work in the two Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movies. Both of those are very good movies.
I've not seen either of those as well.
All right, well, let me head over to the spreadsheet here real quick for a quick... Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing that I've always seen from Man of Steel, is it seems like everybody involved is hugely talented. And it seems like they tossed a ton of money at this movie, and without seeing it, it doesn't... It seems like one of those things where it's like, yeah, of course it succeeded. Like, it's a multi-million-dollar Superman movie with Henry Cavill in it. Like, sure, it was probably good. And then it just seemed like sort of trying to filter out comic book fans, where nothing is good enough. You know, their opinions are null and void, just out of hand. It seems like the genuine intentioned people were still sort of like, it was fine. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm curious because a lot of, I mean, let's face it, it's 2022, end of 2021, and people are still talking about the Justice League Snyder Cut. So
yeah,
it feels like a response to that has never been about going back and looking at anything that came before the Justice League.
Right.
Which we've got the discussion we're going to have about the intro to the next movie is going to be hilarious because I know what version we're watching too.
Okay.
Like, I don't know, it's one of those things where it's like, I think it is a fine piece of cinema. I don't think they could potentially cast, like, off the top of your head, you take Henry Cavill out of the equation, what the hell do you cast as Superman in this day and age?
I mean, like, I don't know, because, like, Henry Cavill's face looks like it's chiseled from a single piece of rock, and that's kind of what you want for Superman. Like, it's just, like, the clean-cut, like, the jaw and, like, the cheekbones, and he just looks like Superman. If you look at the, CW show Superman and Lois, the one that's airing now, like, the guy they got for Superman looks really good. And then you look at Henry Cavill and you're like, okay, there you go. That's the CW.
There's the difference.
That's the CW Superman. That's Superman. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
I have to ask, do you know about the Henry Cavill's nephew?
I don't think so.
So when he got cast as the role of Superman, he called his sister and he told his sister who told his nephew. His nephew then went into school and was talking about how his uncle is Superman.
Okay.
And got detention and sent to the principal's office for lying.
Also, like, I think it's funny where it's just like, of course, some kid is always like, well, my dad's like Superman. He could beat your dad. And he's like, yeah, my uncle's Superman. Everyone's like, shut up, dude. Go get in detention. We're sick of hearing about Superman.
So Henry Cavill had to go to the school and politely explain to everybody there, stop getting his nephew in trouble, please.
Very polite British Henry Cavill saying, like, hello, I'm sorry to bother you, principal. Great.
Like, it's like, okay, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Thank you, Henry Cavill, for being a not wrongin'.
Yeah. Yeah, I am excited to watch this because I feel like there hasn't been a lot of like big budget Superman stuff. Obviously the 80s were pretty critical for great Superman films. But I feel like there hasn't been one of kind of the same level where it's like, yeah, here's a big Superman movie. So I'm excited to see this one. I everything so far that I'm hearing and that I have kind of absorbed through osmosis seems good.
Okay. And I have one final question before we go watch the movie.
Sure.
Who's the villain?
I was wondering if I should even mention this because is it
Brainiac? Is it?
I know there is a Lex Luthor. I feel like I don't know if it's in this movie because I know there was a lot of
kerfuffle,
a lot of confusion over who they got to play Lex Luthor, and I feel like it's
Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, and I feel like the discourse around, it's Jesse Eisenberg playing Lex Luthor, but he's not bald. He has this really weird long hair. Also, it's Jesse Eisenberg. Wasn't for this movie. I feel like it was for the Dawn of Justice. So,
okay. So you think Luthor in the next movie?
Right. Which feels a little weird not having like the origin story being like, well, here's this very bad bald guy. He's your villain.
So are we going to go with Brainiac then? Are we going to go with?
I guess. Yeah, I'm
What's
not.
weird Superman? What's the weird Superman's name? Bizarro. There we go.
Bizarro, Mr. Mixplick, get him in here. I don't know. I don't know. I actually don't know that much about Superman in general, especially not the villains. So I'm not. Brainiac sounds like a dude who would be fighting. Maybe there's some robot. I don't know. I feel like Superman's fighting a robot a lot. I don't know.
Brainiac is the AI construct that was on Krypton that escaped the description of Krypton. Like apparently everything did.
Right.
And then comes to Earth and just starts to take over everything. Is Brainiac responsible for putting Candor in a bottle?
Okay.
And Candor in a bottle sounds like a great band name. I'm just saying.
Right. That's right. Yeah,
he's also played by Spike, the vampire, in the Smallville TV show.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I mean that would probably be my best bet. I'm sure there's a little bit of like.
Also,
yeah,
you've met a Brainiac.
Probably. In
Supergirl.
Oh, sure. You're giving me a lot of credit for retaining any information about a CW show, so I appreciate that. I'm sure they'll probably drop some hints and lines about Lex Luthor or the Luthors or something.
So you mean maybe like a company branding on the side of a building,
right?
One might say,
right? Like, oh, everything's getting taken over by Luthor Corps. Wink.
What about certain enterprises? Do we get that reference in here?
Yeah, I don't know. It would be sort of interesting if they would kind of not deal with any villain in this and just be like, I'm learning how to be a human. I'm a human person like you, other human persons. I work at the Daily Bugle. Here's my glasses. Stuff like that.
Okay.
Man, he's gonna be
prepared
wearing glasses.
To be disappointed.
Oh boy. Yeah. So yeah, I'm not sure, but I know you can't make an hour and a half long movie without something for Superman to punch into the sun.
Is this only an hour and a half? Are you serious?
No, there's no chance this is an hour and a half movie. It's way over 2 at this point. I mean,
I was gonna say, hold on, let me have a look at it here because I'm sure this is one of those 2.5 hour blockbusters.
I mean, look, 143 minutes. Great. Set myself up a nice little bit of time here. Oh man. Okay. Any last thoughts here?
No, I'm excited to go and watch this again after such a long time having not seen it.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go watch the movie then.
Bye.
We are back from watching the film. We've seen.
Is this a film or a movie? Is the question.
Is it cinema? Oh boy, this movie, man.
It's a ride. I will give it credit.
It's a lot, man. Number one, it's so long. Oh my god. I think starting at the top, it's nearly 20-minute long introduction of, hey, Krypton. That's really a lot, man.
Should we mention straight away who his dad is?
Oh my god, Russell Crowe is in 75% of this movie. I saw him pop up and I was like, he'll be in here for 5 minutes, no big deal. Nope. He's all over this movie. He's in a ship, he's in another ship, he's in Clark's ship. He's just, you got a ship? Russell Crowe's in there.
Yep.
This ship is lousy with Russells. Yeah. Oh man, yeah, it was sort of funny to see him after our maybe less than warm reception to him in Les Miserables. So
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I don't really. Yeah. But no, he's good.
Chauvet will always be a Chauvet.
That's right. I don't know. He's pretty good in this. Actually, he does kind of the thing that he does, which is he uses that accent and he just kind of talks his way through a bunch of plot points.
he is quote unquote acting
Acting.
The whole time. Like he's throwing gravitas on literally everything he says.
Yeah, he's really reaching for it in this one, which
I will say that there's a sneaky moment he does later on in the movie, which I think is a little bit sneaky. But we'll get there when we get there.
Okay. I'll leave you to remind us of that.
Forget. Come on.
That's fair. Speaking of Russell Crowe, everybody's in this movie. Like literally every role is just like, oh, look at this. That's a big dude. Let's break down the cast, I guess, before we start here. Henry Cavill, he's great in this. Like I think he manages to capture kind of all of the sides of Superman. This kind of like down-home farm working guy, and this dude who's washing dishes to get by as he's walking across the country, and
doing the whole real walking the earth kind of thing.
Yeah, and also like he's a really good Superman.
Skipping ahead a little bit,
yeah,
I'd like to talk about some actual content. Shall we talk about how incredibly hot this man is?
Yeah, I mean, we did our thirst section at the beginning of this episode, but man, like if you want someone to look like Superman with that jaw, it's still Henry Cavill every time.
And apparently, like from what I hear, he only has 2 shirtless scenes, I think.
Okay.
And for both of them, he was on that like watercolor Hugh Jackman,
right? Jason Momoa sort of thing. Yeah.
So he could literally get the triangle shape.
Right.
Because the dude is nothing but shoulders down to like a 12-pack.
Right. Yeah. I am really impressed with. I like him a lot in The Witcher, but he doesn't. I don't think he's as dynamic as he is here as Superman for fairly obvious reasons. But man, I think he does a really, really great job in this. I think Amy Adams does a pretty good job as Lois Lane. I wish...
You're a fan of her, correct?
I usually like the stuff I see her in. I'm not a fan to the point where I'm like, oh, Amy Adams is in this, let's go watch it. I kind of wish that she had more of the fire that I kind of like out of Lois Lane. She had it in like half of the scenes she was in, but I kind of wanted to see her as more of this like no nonsense kind of spitfire reporter kind of deal. Talking about the villain, Zod, like the biggest Superman villain that apparently I forgot about.
I'm not gonna lie, I was so pleased that he did not occur to you at all during the first part. And like, I know as soon as his name showed up on screen, you would be like, "Oh, I'm such an idiot."
Javert is like, "What do you want, General Zod?" And I was like, "Son of a, come on." Michael Shannon is someone that I feel like I have seen in maybe like 1 or 2 other things, but is not an actor I run across that often.
I honestly think this is the only thing I've ever seen him in.
Yeah, I think he did okay in this. I don't think Zod is the best written.
No, I think he plays Fanatic really, really well.
Yeah.
But there's only so much you can do acting at Fanatic.
There's only so much you can do when the majority of your lines are, well, where's the Kodak? Give me the Kodak. That's pretty much it. Diane Lane is in here, of course, married to Kevin Costner. Just no big deal. They showed up in here too. Stupid, crazy movie. Lawrence Fishburne also there. Just Lois Lane's boss, just hanging out. Yo, here I am.
Perry, I think his name is Perry White.
Yep. I am a big fan of Richard Schiff. He's the doctor. He's the one, Toby from West Wing is probably the thing that most people have seen him in. I just like him as an actor in general. I think he's really great. He and Christopher Maloney kind of playing off of each other was really great. I feel like that's the majority of the the kind of
the big names,
the big actors in here, but that's like pretty much everybody in this movie does a really good job with source material that is 50% really good and 50% really missing the mark. Which is...
Are we talking about the comics, or are we talking about the...
I'm talking about like the screenplay, the lines, whatever you want to call it. Like, I think... Okay. I don't know. Clearly, I don't know that much about Superman at the end of the day. If I forgot General Zod, like one of the most like famous Superman villains of all time. I'll remember Mr. Mxyzptlk, but apparently I won't remember Zod.
Yeah,
God,
like the funny thing is there's 2 Superman villains, and you've named one of them in the first part.
Yep.
And then you didn't remember the other one.
Oh, man. There was a good, like I predicted in the first segment here, there was little winks and nods to Lex Luthor, sort of, especially in the like fuel truck at near the end that exploded like 25 times. That has like a LexCorp thing on the side.
Did you catch the Wayne Enterprises ones?
No, I didn't. Oh man, I feel like there's
at the very end of the Wayne Enterprises satellite.
Man, yeah, I was mostly just being like, oh, they're in space now. Okay, sure. I feel like there's probably like a million. They focused on kind of a lot of little things in this movie. I'm sure there's like a million little like, did you see that sort of thing?
Yeah. Prime for YouTube videos with a circle around nothing saying 56 things you missed in Man of Steel.
That's right. So we already talked a little bit about the intro.
What did you think of Krypton? Like, what did you think of the way Krypton is portrayed in this?
I thought it was largely pretty good. I like that they didn't make it look like Earth, because I feel like that's the thing in this movie is like Krypton, and you look out the window, it's just Southern California. It's like beautiful, our unique planet.
I think that's always been one of the good things about Superman is Krypton is always represented as a vastly different planet. Like I think in the original continuity, I think the Fortress of Solitude is Kryptonian, because the crystalline structure is part of Krypton on Earth, which is why that's Fox Fortress. I know in the New 52 they rebooted his fortress to be a ship, which is where this Fortress of Solitude comes from.
Okay.
So that's why it looks different to the crystalline of the years gone past kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, I like that whole like biotech thing they have going on, where it's like
it's the Matrix.
If we're gonna put Pokemon brands on it, it feels like all of Krypton is Earth-based Pokemon.
Right. Well, and I like that they make it look different. I like that they make it look like the planet is genuinely in trouble. I kind of dig the everybody's outfits on Krypton. They do I feel like they do the thing pretty well, which is like everybody's wearing the S, sort of.
My favorite thing about the whole Kryptonian outfit things is the fact that the suit, Superman's suit, is explained as basically an Under Armour for body armor.
Yep.
It's a really nice way of explaining that away.
Yeah. And his suit genuinely looks like everybody else's suit. It's just a different color. Like I think that has to be something that making a suit for Superman, especially for movies, historically has been very difficult. And I feel like they did it pretty well in this one. I think the suit looks pretty good. The cape looks pretty good. Like that all looks pretty solid.
Yeah. Fun fact: pretty much every time you see the cape, except for 1 or 2 instances, that's CG.
Yeah, there's a couple of scenes where you can. CG in this is largely pretty good, especially the end.
We'll talk about the end later.
I think. But I feel like where it sort of falls down is the cape. Every once in a while, it's a little bit like there are too many like close-up shots of the cape where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's 2013 CG as well, so like it's gonna be a little bit sort of out of time compared to 2022.
Yeah.
But
it's only 10 years old, dude.
yeah, but like with how
CG goes like ridiculously quick. 10 years old is a lifetime in CG.
Yeah, that's why practical effects are great. Yay. So we go through all that intro. That has to be tough trying to. The thing that I think has to be really tough about this movie, and I think it sort of came to light for me in the intro, is kind of balancing who you're making this movie for. If you like us and you grew up a nerd, you know Superman's origin story like the back of your hand. You know, it's you know, everybody knows, you know, Superman, Batman, and you know, a couple of other superheroes.
I'll be honest, like there's certain things they touch on which I like that I didn't know before I saw this movie. Was the whole people are grown. Like they're not born, people are grown,
right?
And that is they are grown to fit their role in society. That is what they do, period. Like it's a really nice touch of being like, okay, so this is where Zod gets his attitude from. It's like he wasn't just like raised for this, he was quite literally born for it.
So we go through the whole thing of the codex and the baby and shooting it off into space and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we get into a pretty extended sequence of... I think the way that they did this is actually pretty smart, and it kind of clicked with me, surprisingly, is you're kind of switching between Clark as he's like 9 and 10 years old, and then Clark in the modern day, and
walking the earth.
Yeah, but both of them are struggling with not only their place in the world, but how do they help people without endangering himself, his family, his community, etc. And I think that the dichotomy between the two of them, I thought was really interesting, because you got to see Clark and his adoptive parents kind of trying to figure out... There's that great scene of Clark figuring out his powers in school where he has like the X-ray vision and everything's too loud. Like, I thought that was actually pretty well done. But I like especially the scene with the school bus that goes off the bridge and him kind of...
when he saves Pete.
I thought that was actually pretty good. This is another thing that's got to be hard to explain, why Superman does good without trying to show him being selfish. It's like, that's Superman's thing, is he's not doing it for him, he's doing it because he's protecting humanity.
And it's also like that scene in particular is the very human nature of Jonathan Kent being so stubborn. Like, maybe Pete would have died. That's something you would have had to live with, because I didn't want you to show your powers like this. And sometimes you might have to let somebody die to do so. And that's... I get it, and it comes into a big moment later in the movie. But that stubborn nature of Jonathan trying to protect his kid, I get it. Like, that's what he's trying to do. But at the same time, it's like, you don't know what that does to a person if they can do something and don't do something. Right.
So I think a lot of that is good, like him saving all the guys on the oil rig. Is kind of his
great shot.
His like modern day kind of savior stuff.
And this is the one bit where we get good Lois, which is when she's like, no, something happened here, and I'm going to find out what happened. And she literally backtraces his entire life.
Well, and I like her like showing up to this subarctic research facility saying like, well, I mean, you're technically in Canada, and the law and the government kind of sided with me, so here you go. I showed up a day early for this reason. Bye. So
No hiding nothing from me.
yeah, like I kind of dug that. Where are we even here at this point?
At this point, she has the conversation with Perry about she backtraces Clark's life, finds out where he comes from, has a conversation with his mother, basically puts a story together about this alien living among us who can do these things, and then goes to talk to Perry about it, and Perry's like, no,
we're not doing this. What are you talking about?
So then she leaks it to somebody else who posts it online, who she hates.
Right.
And then his argument with that is, what if this person does exist?
Mm-hmm.
And what if now they're mad?
Right. Right. Yeah, there's also this, I think after that or around the same time, no, it was before she comes back, the first time that Clark goes in the scout ship that they dug up.
He flies away with the ship because he's laser beaming his way to it faster than they can take to it.
It's really good. I do like the like defense system in there was kind of okay. That scene is largely okay, but it's a lot of. I think it's interesting to see Clark kind of discovering that maybe he should be using his powers instead of kind of completely ignoring them.
Yeah, and we get the whole key into the lock, and isn't that when we first see Jor-El again for the first time?
Yeah, because they have a little conversation where Clark is sort of like, "Hi, what's going on? Who are you? Oh, my dad. Hey, what's okay? Well, I've got a lot of questions here. Okay."
He gets the plot rundown, and he gets given the suit.
Yes.
Which is probably one of my favorite moments, and two of my favorite moments back to back in this section.
Okay.
Is number one, the first flight. Yeah. I love that first flight sequence.
With the hand on the ground and the swirling and
the very anime power-up scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a real good.
So good.
It's interesting because on the page, Superman looks pretty cool flying with the one arm out and like the closed fist and stuff. But on the screen in movement, that has not always translated into here's a cool looking thing. I feel like they do, except for one shot at the very end, I feel like they do a really good job of like, no, like Superman, this is a cool thing that Superman does. Like the one fist out, the two fists, like he can fly cool.
Yeah, that scene I think is fantastic. Did you notice, by the way, speaking of that, because I adore the music in this scene, did you notice what was missing in this entire movie?
No.
We did not once get the.
Yeah, I that has to be. There's been a lot said about Hans Zimmer as a person, and I feel like that's probably a distinct choice from him.
I think it was a studio choice because they wanted to basically snap this off from all existing canon.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah,
and start this on its own.
Yeah, you don't want the comparisons to beloved Superman movies from the past.
Exactly, and that's fine because this is darker, more edgy, more Zack Snyder Superman and whatever. That's fine.
Right.
We'll get there eventually.
Yeah, we will.
But I love that interrogation scene where he goes and hands himself in to the military.
Him just sitting in the interrogation room wearing the handcuffs is just like, this is a great shot. Like this is a really good thing of him. Just like his hands are just on the desk. He's wearing the handcuffs.
Yeah,
it's like,
she's like, you let them put handcuffs on you. He's like, if it makes them feel more secure, like, yeah, sure.
It's real. Like, and this is part of what I like about Cavill as Superman is there's something about how his face acting, as we have sort of called it in episodes of the past, he kind of gets, he understands that kind of stoic look that Superman has to have, where he doesn't have an RBF, he's not mean looking, but he's not happy at the same time. He's just kind of hanging out.
The way I view this is he is looking down at people without looking down at people.
Mm-hmm. He's like trying to be non-threatening. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not condescending to like us mere mortals.
Right.
Like when he stands up from that table, just snaps the handcuffs off like they're nothing.
Yeah.
And he walks over to the mirror and he's like, "Hi, General. I can see you and these 10 soldiers and these 4 scientists." He's not doing that to look down at them. You can tell in his face he's doing it because they don't understand what he's in.
And they like don't believe him. So he's like, "All right, you have a half a pack of wintergreen, whatever's in your pocket." It's like, crap. Okay, great. He's
like, but he never does it in a condescending way.
Right.
He always
it's never
does it
scary.
He always does it in a, "I am here to help you. This is what I have to offer," not I could squash you like a bug kind of way.
Right. He's not powering up the laser eyes, being like, let me out here. Nothing. Nothing like, he's not Batman, am I right?
Yep. We forgot that the whole reason why he has that interrogation scene with Lois is because he hands himself in because there's a UFO out right next to the moon and it's broadcasting the "You Are Not Alone" static screen speech.
I actually kind of like the effects they used to kind of hide Zod in that, like, the TV snowy stuff. I thought that was actually pretty good. I'm always a sucker for, like, they've hacked the mainframe, it's showing on all of our devices, and it's like the audio is stuttery and the visuals are kind of glitched out. Like, I'm always a sucker for that, even if they're like, they hacked our DNS packets. I'm like, no, they're not. It's not okay. Fine.
Yeah.
I can put that stuff aside, but I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, I genuinely like that whole thing. And Zod arrives.
Hi guys.
Hi. Where is the codex?
I'm here. Where's the codex?
Check out my sick as hell battle armor, by the way.
Dude, it's cool. Every time he's like, especially in the end where he's fighting Superman in that armor, I'm like, this is cool. You're just wearing like a cool suit, man. Like, I know it's not gonna last for the whole rest of the movie, but thankfully it doesn't in a cool way, but like, you just got a cool like mech battle suit. I like it.
Like when all 3 of them like come off the ship and they've still got that full face mask on. And then I think it's Fiora L or Fiora pulls down, like it goes down, so it's the see-through version.
Yep.
And she's like, "Yes, we'll take that woman too."
Right.
Fiora Ul with a U, not an E. Like, speaking of which, we'll get to her being an absolute kick-ass later on. By the way,
really cool, great in this movie. I actually did like that kind of like see-through visor thing they had. I think that was a clever way to get around the issue.
I think this is honestly where we could probably cut about 25 minutes from this movie.
Please.
You do not need Superman going on board the ship and struggling to breathe.
Right.
And then him suffering for it. You don't need him coming back and then readjust it. You don't need that whole sequence.
You need a short sequence of him getting his blood taken so the creepy doctor can do his creepy doctor things.
Yeah, which is creepy.
Yeah.
Suitably creepy, I should say.
You do get the cool thing of his dad leading Lois Lane through the ship.
This is the sneaky part. So this is what I want to talk about.
Okay.
Because he goes in the ship, they take off, they're heading back from the small troop transport back to the big ship, which they have a world ship attached to, which we'll get into that in a bit.
Yeah, the world shipper.
So they go there in that, and that whole sequence is really cool where like he is helping Lois escape. He guides her to one of the escape pods.
Right.
And then he doesn't close the door and eject it immediately. He's busy having a conversation with Lois.
Right.
And then he's like, oh, by the way, move your head to the left.
Right.
She moves her head to the left, which causes Fiora to punch through the escape pod, at which point he closes it and sends it into space.
Right. This damaged escape pod.
So he then uses that to give Cal the option. It's like, do you want to be like these people? Or you could save her, you could save them all.
Right.
Like, he is
you could be Superman.
sneaky as hell in that moment.
I also like that scene of him saying, like, punch that panel there, and he punches and it breaks this giant hole open on the side of the ship. It's like, yep, great. I like it. Yeah, I think that scene is pretty cool, but I think it's mostly cool to get to the end part where he has Clark make that decision.
Yeah, and then we get into the big fight time. So,
yes,
the world ship goes to one side of the planet, the regular ship is on the other side. They're doing a gravity wave between each other. That's great concept for terraforming, by the way.
Yeah, like, it's interesting, the ship breaking apart, and I'm like, I guess I'm not seeing what is happening here. And then when they kind of move into position on alternate sides of the planet, it's like, all right, man, yeah, that's pretty cool. Like, you made this world shaper terraform thing. Like, that's a cool way of doing it.
And it's a really great visualization of the wave going backwards and forwards as well.
Yep.
But now we get to talk about my favorite part of this movie, or one of my favorite parts of this movie, secondary character-wise, which is Fiore messing everybody up.
Yep.
She's so good.
Is this? I think we did miss a big fight scene in the middle of, like, Main Street, USA.
That's this fight scene.
Oh, that's where this starts? Okay. The end of this movie...
Just the whole end...
There's a lot going on.
Yeah. The end fight sequence starts in small town, and then they figure out the plan to stop the ships.
Gotcha.
And then they take the fight to the big town. So, yeah, it starts in that little tiny town, and that's where you get all of the Marines and the tanks and everything shooting at the 2. I almost said Klingons. 2 Kryptonians.
Yeah, because it's the big dude and the lady.
Yes, Fiore is the lady, and her speed, like that sequence that she does where she's just like blinking everything off and then does the super speed and just kills some fools.
Yeah,
it's just
they gave her some real cool action stuff in this.
Like, that entire sequence is like, cool, thank you. You've shown me that A, they're a threat, B, she's great at what she does, and looks cool as hell while doing it. And you get the whole fight scene with Clark and those two and him trying to save people and everything else. Then when he breaks the glass on Fiore's thing and she's struggling to breathe.
Yep.
Which I think he also actually did with Zod in this sequence. That's when he first breaks that thing with Zod and makes Zod go all, like, sketchy because he's getting all
I think Zod, he retreats, I think, at this point.
Yes, and then that's when he goes back to his ship and they come up with the plan to get rid of the gravity wave 2 ships thing.
Right. Singularity. Right. Yeah, I like a lot of this fight stuff. I especially like the fight between her and Superman, because he does a really good job of looking like he's on the back foot for the majority of that fight, and, like, genuinely being surprised about someone being as fast, if not faster, than he is, and, like, someone who is actually a threat to him.
She gives the confident speech as well, where she's like, you don't know who you are.
Right.
I know who I am.
Right. And I for most of the rest of this movie, it's probably a pretty unpopular opinion.
Let's generalize. Come on,
let's
go.
I think a lot of the action in the rest of this movie is actually fairly well edited. I think my problem with a lot of American produced and directed action movies is a lot of, like, either too many quick cuts so you kind of don't see what's happening, or too many, like, close-up shots where it's like, okay, I think we're fighting somewhere. But a lot of this
is Michael Bay effect.
Yeah, and I think a lot of this is actually really well done, where it's giving you not only a good idea of scale in some of the later stuff, but a good idea of where exactly they are and what they're doing. You know, especially when Clark is being punched up a giant building, and then the Zod is kind of like climbing his way up it, and there's some interesting, even in the Main Street USA fights, like there's some interesting stuff with some of the military attacking them. There's some kind of cool moments there of, you know, they're not going to win, but they're at least putting some cool perspectives there.
Yeah, I love the fact that this is a 3-dimensional fight as well. All this whole sequence is 3 dimensions.
It's true.
Like, this isn't a side-by-side thing. Like, as much as I like the Matrix films, I think this is probably a better fight than that end fight in the 3rd Matrix film with the flying around with that.
Right.
There's some moments in that are amazing, but I think, otherwise, generally speaking, I can see a lot of what's going on here. Most of the time, better. When they tend to get into Metropolis and they do a lot of, let's knock down everything that's over 2 stories tall.
Right. Good, like flying through buildings and stuff like that.
That's when I start to lose it a little bit.
Yeah.
But the deliberate shots where you're right, like when they're on the street and he punches him and he goes straight up that building, you could see, because he stops and it's like he's sitting down, but he's sitting down on a building vertically, and then you see Zod come up to him.
Right, because like the camera's shooting down the building from the top down to the street, and Superman is kind of hovering there, looking at Zod, and it's like, all right, man, like that's not a shot you would typically see in something that's coming from the U.S. Like you said earlier, like I was doing a little bit of research here afterwards, and the guy who did the storyboards with Zack Snyder, like the head of the storyboards, said he was very influenced by anime. Like, you can very clearly tell, especially with like the powering up, you know, the animations and the swirling and stuff. And I think shots like that, and especially like the metal snaky things that are coming out of the World Shaper, like I think a lot of that stuff is like, yeah, you're making like a cool like $250 million anime thing here, and that's pretty cool.
Also, I'm so stupid. Like, I refer to like whatever that quote unquote small town was. I'm pretty sure that's Smallville.
I think it is, yeah.
Which is just me being an idiot. But yeah, like they stop the world ship. They think Zod is dead. Metropolis is essentially a wasteland.
I do want to take a quick detour to say I really like how the World Shaper thing looks. I really love the scale of it, not only from like it in relative size to the planet, but I also really like it in relative size to Superman himself. Like, it's massively bigger than Superman is, and he's still kind of rushing at it to shut it down.
The scene with Perry gives that away as well a lot, like the scene with the reporters and that gravity wave slowly coming down the street.
And I actually really like, there's a lot of cool, like, the World Shaper Terraformer thing is firing, and the camera is shaking a lot, and, like, the water on the planet is going crazy. There's that cool water ring around it that I think is really cool. Like, I gotta give them a lot of credit, because I think they could have just had, like, a ship with a laser, and it's like, oh no, they're drilling into the Earth, but they made it... They made it genuinely look like something interesting, and then to see the terraforming thing spit out black clouds that have lightning in them is like, you know, this thing is actually working on terraforming the planet. It's not like they started warming it up. It's like, no, man, like he said the thing needs to go. Like, this thing's gonna be Krypton. Like, we're going. Like, we're not. It doesn't have a warm up time.
I really like the whole Zod. That scene that I did like was the Zod New Krypton speech when he's invading their minds, and like it's the million skulls kind of thing scene with Superman. I gotta give them credit for flexing where they want to flex though, because like the whole world ship sequence is pretty great, and you get the Colonel who gives his life and takes Fiore out with him. It's like, what does he say? A good death is best, or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Well, and I also really like the moment too where the doctor the Kryptonian doctor is like, well, I've figured out where the codex is, and he explains that this Clark's cells contain the genetic information about blah 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 blah, and like that Zod asks him like immediately like, well, do we need to keep him alive? And the doctor's like, no, and he's like, all right, launch this thing. Like, it's not even a second thought. It's like, cool, let's go. Like, I
no hesitation.
I really like that because it's not. He's just a bad guy. Like, he has a goal, but there's no like tortured like, what if Krypton still lived? And he's like, nope, I'm gonna make this happen. Like, I really, there's kind of no finer point on that, and I kind of like it.
I do love his zero hesitation, and like you said, like that is his goal. He only knows that because that is what he is being taught and trained to do, is to keep Krypton alive.
Yep.
But yeah, after everything's been destroyed and they find out that Zod is still alive, I love the fact that Zod immediately adapts to the atmosphere. And people like, well, it took Clark years to train to do that. It's like, yes, Zod is a soldier who was born to do this.
Also, Clark was a literal infant. So, like, maybe give him a minute.
I mean, Zod even literally says, I have spent my entire life honing my senses, so you don't get to run this crap with me.
Right.
I love the flex, because I've never seen it before, of him, like, when Zod punches him and he's lying face down on the ground, and to stand up, he just floats up in a still flying position and then fly straight at him. It's like, that's a bit of a flex. Come on.
It's a bit of a flex. This is probably my least favorite shot in the movie, because I think it's a cool idea on paper, but I think its execution looks a little bit cheesy, and I'm not entirely sure like what I would do to fix that shot. It's a cool idea, but there's something about it that I'm just like, all right, yeah, like, okay, cool, sure.
And
I do. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, I have to give this movie a lot of credit though, because I feel like so many superhero movies kind of pull the punches with this, or maybe kind of don't show the aftermath, but they destroy Metropolis. Like,
literally was about to be what I was going to say was, hey, bye-bye Metropolis. My notes literally say, bye-bye Metropolis.
Like, they are punching fuel trucks into buildings and watching them fall. They're punching each other through buildings. Like, this isn't like, you know, the Avengers, where it's like, oh man, those 3 buildings, whew, we really messed that thing up. But they are just destroying Metropolis kind of from top to bottom, and I kind of dig that they went all the way with that, where it's like, yeah, like 2 superheroes are fighting. They're not going to go do it in an empty field.
And one doesn't give a crap about the planet.
Right.
And the other one has never fought someone on this scale before.
Right. I give him a lot of credit, because I think it's too easy to be like, I'm going to fight you, but I'm going to keep the innocents safe, so we'll go back to Smallville. It's like, no. We're gonna do this here and just destroy Metropolis.
How many times did we see Cell or Frieza go on television and make a speech about how they're going to destroy this city unless Goku shows up? Right. And Goku shows up and it's like, okay, cool, let's just take it away from the city. And I think it might have been Frieza who literally just blew up a city. No, it was the Saiyans. It was the Saiyans, the very first arc.
Right.
They were like, okay, we won't harm the city. Bang, city is gone.
Right.
It's like, that's exactly what a bad guy would do.
Right, exactly. I like a lot of the fight stuff here. I like a lot of the fight stuff where Zod is wearing the super cool like battle mech suit. I think that looks pretty cool. There's like one sound effect when Zod like uppercuts Superman, where I'm like, that's sort of okay. I don't know where that sound effect came from, but it stood out enough for me to remember it.
I heard the Inception Bois. I heard at least 2 distinct X-Wing, not X-Wing, TIE Fighter noises. One as the world ship was coming in, I heard the TIE Fighter. Like there's
a really good Wilhelm scream in the movie, where someone falls out of like one of those carrier things, and Wilhelm's out of there. But yeah, like the flex of just like, well, I guess I'm done with this battle suit. Let me take it off. Whoops. I'm also wearing this thing. Sort of like, all right, that works for me for some reason. I kind of dig it.
Yeah, it's really solid, and like this, I don't want to color your opinion of future movies.
Sure. I think the internet has done that for me already.
True. Occasionally, this whole fight with Cal and Zod is very hard to follow. In certain moments, like location geography wise, it occasionally does transition to a CG nightmare every now and again.
Yeah, there's like one shot of, I think it's one of them flying through the city and kind of like passing through barely lit buildings, and then the other one kind of comes crashing through a building and tackles them. And that was sort of like, okay, that's a little bit of a weird shot, but okay.
Oh, and they pull a satellite down and crash it into Metropolis as well, by the way, just in case you were keeping count.
I don't know if we needed to keep that scene in the movie, but I did really like Lois Lane looking up in the sky and seeing all of the debris burning up in the atmosphere, and I'm like, that was a pretty cool shot, though, so maybe that was worth it.
Yeah. This is the least CG nightmare that these fights tend to get, I think. I haven't seen a lot. I haven't seen a lot of the back end of this, so season 2 sure. I'm very limited on my experience with. But season 1, there's going to be a lot of CG fights.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the tough part of making a superhero movie in modern times. Is it's just audiences want that spectacle, and I think it's hard to do practical effects for some of the spectacle stuff. We all can't be F9, and just drag an actual car through an actual building. Sadly,
yeah, also true.
Yeah.
But no, what did you think about him killing? Because this got some big drama when it came out.
I feel like they did a really good job of selling the necessity of it. Of just like, Clark knows...
Zod doesn't care.
Zod doesn't care, and Zod's just like there to destroy, but I think Clark is realizing that this family is indicative of Zod's sort of attitude towards humanity, where it's like, well, if I don't kill you, then this terraformer will, but maybe I'll have a little bit of fun before the terraformer kills you. And I think it's pretty clear from Clark saying that this is a necessity to... We're going to take care of the terraforming thing. Like, that's not going to be a problem. Everyone else is kind of taking care of that. But if I let this guy live, then he's just going to keep doing this. So this is a portion of his mission to save and protect humanity is, well, I gotta get rid of this dude.
Yeah, because this did garner a whole bunch of hatred. Because very much like Batman, Superman is one of those people who does not kill. 40 BP on my backside.
Right.
But I think this is actually really well explained. Like you said, Zod doesn't give him a choice.
Yeah.
And if we're talking an origin story for Superman, this being his first kill also does a very good job of explaining why it would be his last kill.
Exactly. Right. And
he's killing his only last link that he knows of to Krypton.
Right.
Like in living form, at least. And he's doing it knowing that if he didn't, then it would be a constant struggle.
Right.
He does what Goku couldn't do. He doesn't give Zod a chance to go and train and become more strong.
Just kill him. Yeah, I can understand that Superman comic purists might be upset about this, but I think they handle it pretty well in the movie of just like, he didn't really have a chance. Like part of him protecting humanity means that occasionally he might have to do things that he genuinely doesn't want to do, or like sort of goes against his better nature. And I think it's interesting to see that happen, and it's interesting to watch Clark struggle with it for a little bit.
Yep. Then we get the whole conversation with the military, the whole this guy's not an enemy conversation.
Yep.
Which is cool. He has a conversation with them about he brings down a drone and drops it right in front of that general guy.
Right, the $12 million.
Surveillance drones.
Yeah.
Still trying to figure out where I lay my head, huh?
Right.
It's like, and that's where you get the line, I grew up in Kansas. I'm about as American as can be, kind of thing.
Right.
Which, I love that whole conversation. I love that when the general goes to walk away, the private who's with him, the female private, is giggling a little bit, and he's like, what's so funny? And she's like, I just think he's hot. Like,
it's a line that sucks, but I agree with her. So,
yes. But my personal favorite is when he gets a job to blend in with the people.
Yes, where he could ask questions in dangerous places without raising an eyebrow.
And do we want to talk about the last line of the movie? Because it's a dinger in both a good and a bad way for me.
I don't remember it, so...
He gets introduced to Lois by Perry White, I think it is, as the newest reporter.
Yeah, because he's like meeting the whole team.
Everybody says hello. And then she, who obviously already knows who he is, which we do get the glasses revealed when he puts the glasses on when he's going up the elevator.
Yep, looking pretty good. Daily Planet looks cool too. Like that whole sequence looks cool.
It does. And then Lois stands up, gives him a little smile, and says, "Welcome to the planet." And then we cut to credits.
All right. Yeah, I guess I didn't catch the double meaning of that at the end of this 2 hour and
my
20-minute movie.
Welcome to the planet, lol.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Man, this one's
a complicated one.
This one's tough because we barely scratched the surface of the stuff that's in this. We didn't even talk about that weird fever dream thing that Zod put him in, where he's thinking into the field of skulls. Like there's so much in this movie.
We didn't talk about Jonathan Kent dying. Right,
Jonathan Kent with the famous now meme image of him holding up his hand and getting sucked away with the tornado. This one's really tough because there's so much stuff in here that I think could be trimmed or removed completely, because this is a 143-minute movie. It's so long. And I know it's just going to get way worse from here. I know the next movie is like way worse than this one is. And it just... But I don't think any of it is inherently bad. Like, there's no...
The worst thing is, none of it is fat.
Right, like, and none of it that I was watching was like, oh, this doesn't matter, or like, why is this happening? There's that scene of like 10 school kids bullying Clark when he's young outside of the like metal shop or whatever, and the end of the scene shows him that he like crunched that metal fencing post. And it's like, all right, okay, cool, like that's all important. But there's just so much in here, and it's well acted, and it's well shot, and it's well produced, and it's a Hans Zimmer score, so it's fine. But like,
should I ask the question then?
Sure.
Do you wish you would have seen it at the time? Do you feel bad having waited this long to have seen it? Or
no.
I think with this season, the thing we're going to run into particularly with this season is, are you happy that you waited long enough for the anger to rise, peak, settle, and then flatline,
right,
so you can watch it in peace?
I don't really regret not seeing it at when it came out. I'm not sure I would have enjoyed it as much in 2013, not because of the internet's disdain for seemingly everything superhero. But
you're a different person now.
Yeah, I think it's I'm happier to let the water to run off my duck's back for some of this stuff. So we watched a movie that's too long, not in a bad way, but it feels pretty stuffed full of things. And it was well made, and Henry Cavill is great in it. Almost all the cast is really good in it. You know, I think my only thing is I wish they would have used Amy Adams a little bit more, because I I think
get ready for that train to keep on running.
That's great. Like I want her to be Lois Lane in more stuff.
Oh no, I mean the disappointment side of that train.
Bummer. But yeah, I'm glad we watched it. I don't think this is one of those... Like, we're going to come into the second segment on some movie in Critical Misses, and it's going to be like 30 seconds of silence, and both of us are going to be like, yeah, nope, and then the episode just ends there. Like, it's just... we're going to run into, like, some real hot turd at some point, but this is definitely not it.
I've seen Requiem for a Dream, so we don't have to worry about that one.
Yeah, that's just like 30 minutes of us softly crying in the background. But yeah, like, it's an okay movie that I think it could probably be a really great movie with some probably fundamental changes, but I don't know how you would get a more fundamental changed movie out there.
Like, out of curiosity, like, at the end of the day, do we cut the entire intro sequence? The whole thing on Krypton? Because if you cut that...
Yeah. It's a 2-hour movie at that point. Like, that's the thing I was struggling with, because my knee-jerk reaction to the intro sequence was like, who is this for? And that's an incorrect answer, just to answer my own question, is... My knee-jerk is, well, everybody knows the Superman origin story, or you don't care about superheroes, so you're not going to go it. But there genuinely is an audience in the middle of like, all right, well, I'll watch a big budget Superman thing. Like, sure, like I don't know everything about Superman, but you know, we'll get some information about Krypton and the origin story. I would feel very differently for, you know, if I never see another movie where Martha Wayne's blood-stained pearl necklace falls on that alley floor again, I'll be a happy man. But I know that's not going to happen. We got another Batman movie coming out here in a couple of months. But I'm not,
dude.
Yeah.
I hate to break it to you.
Oh my God, is it in the next movie?
We got another Batman movie coming in.
Swear to God. So I'm not as tired of... We'll have some hotness next week. So I'm not as tired of the Superman origin story as I am for the Batman one. So I think that's the hardest one, and I don't have a good answer. I don't want to keep spinning my wheels for too much longer because we're running out of time. But I think this movie is good. I think it could be great. I don't know how you would get there. It has all like the building blocks. Maybe they were just kind of put together in the wrong order. But it's solid.
So, with that being said, IMDb gives this a 7.0.
Okay, that's fair.
Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 56% tomato meter.
Okay, that's probably a smidge lower than I would give it.
And a 75% audience rating.
That might be a little bit higher than I would give it. I feel like that 65 to 75 is probably the sweet spot for me, where it's like it is often good but not great, with a couple of dips and a couple of good high points, but you know, it is
pretty middle of the road.
It is unevenly great.
Yes, that's a really good way of phrasing it.
Yeah, and I think
unevenly
really
good, even I would go to.
Yeah, with sort of bright flashes of it being great, especially around Feyora Ul. Like any of the scenes she's in,
so good.
It's really good. Oh man.
So here is a fun one for you.
Okay.
A little bit of trivia I gleaned. Gal Gadot was originally tapped to play Feyora Ul.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. That would make sense. You know, not knowing the future, that would make sense for that character.
However, she was busy at the time. Did you just clunk your head on my desk, Louise? Yes, you did. She was busy at the time filming something else. Couldn't do it. And the same casting director would come back for a different movie later. Right.
Interesting. Well, if you're going to hire someone as Wonder Woman, it's probably like Hollywood's tallest woman. So it's probably a good call. Yeah. Any final thoughts here for Man of Steel?
I think it's a fine movie. It,
Yeah.
it genuinely has some incredible moments that I really do love. Like I love the first flight scene. I love the
Yep.
interrogation scene.
Yep.
We've talked about it before, but my favorite Superman is always bad Superman. Like
Yep.
when he's not on the side of law and justice and truth in the
Mm-hmm.
American way. Which I like the
He's
fact that his
chaotic good.
I like the
Yeah.
fact that his slogan is now truth and justice. He no
Mm-hmm.
longer has the American way on it, which good on the
Probably.
creators for that.
Yeah. Probably a good call.
It's a fine movie. Like they I think the only way this improves is scripting and maybe director. Like I adored I adored Zack Snyder
Mm-hmm.
when I was younger. When 300 came out and I was in that kind of age group, the demo for that, it was perfect for me. I was like, yeah,
Oh
300
yeah.
is a masterpiece of cinema.
Yeah.
It's not, spoiler alert.
That I think that hit all of us of a certain age very hard at the time, where it's like, this is the coolest movie I've ever seen. This is great. It's
uh
it's probably not. Maybe we'll get to the 300 duology at some point, but
Well, I haven't seen the second one, so
yeah, God, I haven't either. I don't know.
But no, I think it's a good solid movie. I think they probably made a mistake by not having at least one more Superman movie before Justice League, like a Superman solo movie.
Yeah, it's sort of surprising that they're um, like racing towards this thing seemingly a
That's the
little bit too
problem.
quickly.
Because, like, I mean, if you think about it, do you know who's in the Justice League movie? Like, do you know the people involved in it?
I mean, I know Ben Affleck is Batman. There's Jason
Uh-huh.
Momoa, Gal Gadot.
Do you know who they play?
Jason Momoa is Aquaman. Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. I don't know who's the Flash, and I don't remember the guy who plays Cyborg. I don't remember what his name is.
You basically just named all of them, and
Right,
in the process of getting there, we get this movie, a half Batman, half Superman movie,
right,
a Wonder Woman movie, and then a Suicide Squad movie,
right. Which is like
and then Justice League. Like what?
it's all over the place, man.
Where's the Flash?
Right, right. Like, where's yeah,
Spoiler alert: the Flash's movie has still not come out yet.
right, right.
We don't get Aquaman movie until afterwards.
Season 3 of DCEU. Yeah, I don't know. Well, thank you for hanging out for nearly an hour and a half of us talking about Man of Steel, next movie. So we'll talk about this in the next episode. We are going to be watching the Ultimate Edition of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which is 3 hours and 2 minutes long. So I guess prepare snacks for the next episode and movie, because it's probably going to be a long one. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.